The 41st Gardeners Gathering will take place this Saturday at Northeastern University, sponsored by the Trustees of Reservations. To tell us about the event is our guest from the Trustees, the Boston Region Engagement Site Manager, Michelle de Lima. Thank you very much for being with us, Michelle.
Thank you, Chris.
First of all, for people who don't know the Trustees and what they do exactly, talk about what it is, especially the locations that you control in Boston.
Sure, I'd love to. So we are a statewide conservation organization. We're actually the oldest organization of our kind in the country and actually the world. And we started as a volunteer organization dedicated to preserving sites of ecological or cultural or historical significance. So a lot of people might be familiar with World's End in Hingham or Crane Beach up in Ipswich, also the Crane Estate. And we actually have 113 properties around the state, including out in the west. Some beautiful gardens, some houses, a number of farms, which are active working farms with CSAs, and a dairy. And then here in Boston, the big thing that we have are the community gardens. So we own about a third of the gardens in Boston, and we preserve them for public use and enjoyment, which is the Trustees' mission overall. And we also have a reservation in Milton, just very close to Dorchester, close to Boston, called Governor Hutchinson's Field. And we're going to be doing a lot of events and programs there this summer.
Well, talk about the Gardeners Gathering, because it's a little bit like what you do with the community gardens in a way. You're trying to make something at least more accessible to people.
Absolutely. This gathering has been going on for 41, or this is the 41st, so it's been going on for 40 years. Every early spring, Boston gardeners come together, and it's always free, and it's a forum for networking and seeing what's going on in terms of local businesses and organizations. But the big thing is education. So it's a big conference, and we have at least 24 workshops where people can learn all different kinds of gardening skills. There's some panels for more, social context and things like that.
Well, I imagine there are people who walk by a garden occasionally, whether it's the Victory Gardens in the Fenway or some garden in the South End or even Dorchester, and they might say, I'd like to do that, but how do I go about it? I guess this might be a good way to find out.
Absolutely, yeah. You can always reach out to us at the Trustees, and we can put you in touch with the coordinator, and you can try to get into a garden. But this is a great way to meet some people, really find out what the gardens are all about. And also, if you have some space in your own yard and you want to do gardening and you don't know where to start, we're going to start with everything from seed starting to composting to planting a garden. So it's a great place for beginners. There'll be some more advanced workshops. It runs the gamut.
No, I only know there's more to gardening than just putting the seeds in the dirt and watering it. But in the city especially, what kind of things do people need to know about?
Well, especially if you're starting a new garden or if you're gardening outside your house, soil quality is really important. So that's something that they'll talk about in the Planning a Garden workshop. You definitely want to test your soil, because it's very common for urban and suburban soils to be contaminated with lead from paint. And it's not a big deal. If you have lead, you can just build up and build a raised bed. And we're actually going to have another workshop about that coming up in May. It's very simple to do. It's a great way to grow. So there's a lot you can do. And there's going to be a container gardening workshop at the gathering also. So even if you don't have space to grow in the ground, if you have a porch or steps, you can do something.
Of course, the other thing going on here is what you get from talking to other people who garden. It's almost, I guess, infectious.
Absolutely. It really is infectious. And gardeners love to talk about their gardens and share photographs and stories and tell people what, tips. So that's a big part of
now, we should also mention this is a big year for the Trustees. It's a milestone year.
Absolutely. It's our 125th birthday. So the Trustees began with the founder, Charles Eliot, in 1891. And so we're celebrating a big year this year. There's going to be celebrations and birthday parties all across the state. At the gathering, we're having a cake to celebrate. But we're also doing an exhibit in partnership with the Boston Public Library at Copley that'll be running this summer to showcase our conservation efforts throughout history, including the gardens.
And I also understand you plan to be giving some plants to people too.
Oh, yes. Not at the gathering, but a couple of months later. So on May 14th, we're going to have a plant sale, which we have at our learning garden and nursery in Mattapan.
We should mention the exact time and place of the event Saturday at Northeastern.
Yes, good idea. So we have, this year for the first time we have a keynote address. So we're starting a little bit earlier at 10 a.m. We have Daniel Ross, who is a big food activist and social entrepreneur. He's going to be doing an interactive keynote address at 10 o'clock, and it's at Northeastern, divided between two buildings. So Shillman Hall is where all of the workshops and the information gallery are, and then the plenaries and the keynote address are right across Forsyth Street in the Egan Center. So at 10 a.m. that starts, and we have the mayor comes at 12 to present community gardening awards, and then we have workshops from 1 to 4. So it closes around 4:30.
And of course, you have some information online, social media.
Yes. So our Facebook page, the Trustees Boston Region, has a lot of information on it, and also our website. And if you want to go specifically to this event, you can go to thetrustees.org/gathering.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Michelle de Lima from the Trustees of Reservations. We'll have more news in just a moment.